great teachers to teach them so that they can grow academically and behaviorally. Now, I've been in BPS for 5 years, and I've seen so much turnover in terms of the type of curriculum we're supposed to teach them in math, but that's the same thing happening in other content areas. So if there's all this turnover going on, you can't solely rely on the textbook to teach students. We're skilled professionals.
Right.
We should be able to adapt to the turnover as best as we can because we have some skills in place that can compensate for what we're not getting with the curriculum. So I think those are some of the lessons that I try to teach in the book. So there's talk about how to be a culturally responsive educator. So by culturally responsive, it means taking time to get to know students. So, I mean, you came as an immigrant many years ago from Guatemala, right? So obviously we have students who are ESL students. They're coming in, a lot of them are coming in not knowing a word of English. I currently have a student that came from Dominican Republic, can't speak English, but she's a nice young lady and actually is a really good math student. She just can't speak the language. But she's placed in my classroom, which is really not the best setting for her, but because of certain systemic, issues within the district, and she's not placed where she's supposed to be. But I can't deal with that right now. I have to find a way to educate her because that's my job.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Let's talk a little bit about your experience as a teacher of color.
Oh man, where do we start with that?
Okay, tell me what part of the subject you would like to talk about.
Well, I don't mind talking about it. It's just it's so dense.
What is the part of it that has most impacted you? Besides the question that I'm going to ask you.
Well, I could start by telling you how I got into teaching. Mm-hmm. I know during my undergraduate years at Temple University, I wasn't thinking about being a teacher, but at the same time, all of the work state jobs I had involved dealing with students, whether it was being a summer camp counselor, whether it was being a tutor during the after-school program, or being a mentor to a young person in a middle school or a high school. I was always working with students at some capacity throughout those years. So then when I graduated, I needed to get a real job. I didn't do any internships or anything, so I wasn't sure what I was going to do with my math degree because with math, it's one of those majors where you have to pair it with another area in order to make the math work. So you can't just do math alone. It has to be math and finance or math and business or math and engineering because math applies to so many other careers.
Right.
So then after thinking about it, I said, well, I've been working with kids the whole time, so let me just stay on that track. So I actually ended up doing AmeriCorps for a year and a half. And through my time at AmeriCorps, doing education called Education Works, that's when I found my love for teaching. That's when I realized, okay, I want to get into education because whenever I go to a classroom, I see a white teacher there, but yet 90% of the students are of Black or Latinx descent.
Right. It brings me to a thought. For example, when I went to college, I went to UMass Amherst, about 100 miles from here, close to Springfield.
Yeah, go Minutemen.
And we used to be rivals in basketball.
Yep, Cheney and Calipari, yep. How can we forget?
So anyway, but that's on the court and stuff like that. Here's a different ball game too, in which we have to pair up. But what I wanted to share with you is the fact that I started working with the admissions office and doing recruitment in around Holyoke, Springfield, Boston area, and I started going as a student because I was still a student. I was a junior in college, but when we went to the high schools, and these guys came in, the admissions officers and all these people came with me.
Sure.
Or I went with them because they took me.
Yeah.
And I was surprised to see that a lot of our kids didn't have any questions to the admissions officers, the guy that was going to make the determination to how to get into college. It was to me. And that brings me to the other, to relate it to you, which is the fact that we need representation. We need people of color in all these areas. Because, I mean, I was just a student, but they were raising questions. So, you know, how do I get into the school? What did you do to get there?
Wow.
But, you know, that brings me to the question that I was going to ask you. How did the students react? You know, students of color, Latino, African American students, when they see you as a teacher?
It's funny you mention that, because I want to say almost every year I've taught, I'm in my 9th year now, and I can honestly say that every year I've taught, I've had at least one student tell me, Mr. Sarmiento, you're the first male teacher I've had, and I teach 6th, 7th, 8th grade. I've only taught middle school, so they've gone their first at least 6 years of their schooling not seeing a male teacher. In some cases, I'm the first black teacher they've ever seen. In other cases, I'm the first black male teacher they've ever seen. So I'm always the first of something.
I see.
So whenever I hear that, it just brings me to the bigger picture of the fact that we just need more of us, more people like me in the classrooms. And then I wonder, well,
what is it going to take?
Well, it's going to take very clever marketing, because education is not a job that is super appealing for people unless that's something that they want to do in their heart. If they really want to have an impact with students, they're going to get into the profession. But if they're thinking about just what they're going to get in return in terms of the financial, like how much money they're going to earn, education is not the most lucrative job. Even though in Massachusetts, at least as of 2017, it's the 3rd highest paying state when it comes to education.
And you know what? We should take care of our teachers well. Teachers should have a salary which actually could be substantial to maintain a lifestyle.
Oh, yes.
Right? But at the same time, teachers should make the commitment to teach our kids.
The commitment has to be there. You cannot do this job and not be committed to the students. If you're not committed to the students, you have no business in the classroom. And which is why I applied for this initiative, which you're familiar with. It's called the Inspired Fellowship, which was started by Commissioner Riley and the team at DESE, because they recognize that there needs to be an increase with the educators of color in targeted districts throughout the Commonwealth.
Well, Kwame, listen, we're getting close to the end of our segment here, but you know what? It's been great to have you here to be talking about education, and I hope that we can inspire people to really think about what it takes to be a teacher. You have written this book. You have 8 lessons, you say? 8
lessons that will help define the teacher in them. So some of the lessons include how to build a network of mentors, how to be culturally responsive in your teaching, how to self-advocate when you're in the workplace. There's also a segment that is specifically for parents, how parents and even teachers you've had in the past have an influence in the way you teach.
So it's not just about becoming a teacher, it's for education. Either you an educator or you're a parent who have kids and you want to know exactly how to improve what you should be doing to improve their education.
Absolutely. It covers all those things. So it's not just for the educator, even though that's the primary audience. Parents could buy the book to get an idea of what educators go through behind the scenes. But also, I've had students, former students of mine, who wanted to buy the book.
Cool.
And they found value in it. So it's definitely an inspirational book. I want to say it's a revolutionary book because it's telling us how to think about urban education in a different way.
People can buy this on the internet as well?
They can buy it on Amazon. It's currently on Amazon. I have an ebook version as well, which they can purchase. I also do a blog as well. I'm a blogger as well, so they can purchase this book on my website. www.identitytalkforeducators.com.
Okay.
And they can purchase the book from my website, and they can also see my blog, which is an extension of some of the lessons I talk about in the book.
Perfect. I want to talk a little bit about who is Kwame, just to finish the program here.
Yes.
All right.
So Kwame is a lot of things. Kwame is a husband. Kwame is a father to a 15-month-old son. Kwame loves karaoke. and Kwame just wants to do his part to
That's your wife right there.
That's my wife right there, yes. Kwame just wants to do his part to, make the world a better place, however I can.
That's your baby.
And that's my son when he was I think 2 weeks old in that picture. So now he's walking around and making messes around the house.
They grow fast.
They grow so fast. And now he's starting to talk too, so
Perfect.
that's another thing.
Great.
Yes.
Well, Kwame, listen, is there another book in the way?
There is, but I'm taking some time to process that and think about what it is. But I have a lot of great ideas for what book number 2 will be.
Great. How about another baby?
Man, I'm trying to get you to number 1.
I'm only kidding. No, but listen.
Yes.
What I do want to say is when your next book comes out,
Yes.
Concepto has the doors open for you. And
Thank you.
so that we can talk a little bit more about your book.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Great.
Yes.
Well, guys, this is Kwame, his book, which has 8 lessons and is called Shaping the Teacher Identity. Okay? So I recommend it. I have not read it, but I'm going to take the time to read it. And that wraps up our first segment. In our second segment, I have Ronnie Flores. He's here in the studios already. I'm really excited also to interview him in his book. And I think he's got another project there that we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to go to a public announcement right now, but when we come back, we're going to be talking to Ronnie. This is Concepto. I'm Rodolfo. We're going live from Roxbury Studios here in Eggleston Square.
En clase de historia, la maestra le preguntó a Jaimito, ¿qué ocurrió en 1812? Pero, maestra, yo ni siquiera había nacido.
María, tiene usted prediabetes.
¿Prediabetes? Ah, no, mire, doctor, yo no tengo tiempo ni de comer bien ni de hacer ejercicio. Yo soy una mamá muy ocupada.
Ay, pero ¿por qué no me lo dijo usted antes?
¿Cómo?
Claro, porque las mamás muy ocupadas como usted no pueden tener prediabetes. Permítame enseñarle. Aquí están las personas en riesgo de tener prediabetes. Y aquí, al final, mire, las mamás ocupadas como usted.
¿En serio?
No.
Es un corto trayecto de su colonia hasta su bosque local. Para encontrar un parque o zona verde cerca de usted, visite descubreelbosque.org.
Inundación. El próximo jueves. No tengo tiempo para esto. Yo ya tenía planes la próxima semana. Ay, me malogra todos mis planes. Qué pesados que son. ¿Es en serio esto? ¿Han visto? No, pues no. O sea...
Los desastres no planifican. Sin embargo, usted sí. Comience por hablar con sus seres queridos para hacer un plan de emergencias. No espere. Prepárese.
Sí, tenía miedo. No sabía si iba a poder hacerlo.
Encuentra clases gratis para adultos cerca de ti en completatudiploma.org.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.